Hi, my name is Rajesh Barela, and I will defend that eating meat is in fact ethical, and in fact more beneficial to the population. In his opening statement, my opponent references PETA, which is actually a biased organization in favor of pro-animal rights, and he uses it in order to drive the claim that the human body can be sustained solely on plant material. A biased source allows for a flawed argument, since the source is not really credible because there's a lack of neutrality. But he goes on to credit meat eating to obesity, although in his own argument he states that only 25.5% of an average American diet consists of meat, whereas 62% of the diet is processed food, which is oil, sweets, and refined grain. Still, I concede that being vegetarian, as like my opponent states, leads to a reduced risk of colon cancer and cardiovascular disease. However, being vegetarian has its own severe drawbacks. Since my opponent has not provided any sources, I can assume that he has drawn his information from uncredible and perhaps pro-vegetarian sources. In fact, my opponent seems to switch his argument to being pro-vegan rather than staying on topic and arguing being a vegetarian. After doing some research on my own, being vegetarian, and I suppose vegan as well, can lead to serious health problems that are not as prevalent if you're omnivorous. Annabelle Smith, a researcher from Penn State, found that not eating meat can lead to severe deficiencies in vitamin D and calcium, thus leading these people to have higher risk of osteoporosis or risk of fracture. These findings were later confirmed by cancer researchers at Oxford University. Other researchers at UCal and the Institute of Nutritional Science found that non-meat eaters were actually at a higher risk of vitamin B12 deficiency, which in turn led itself to a risk of heart problems. This study was also conducted with pregnant mothers, and the same results were found, and they had ill effects on the newborn baby. Obesity, according to the diet that my opponent presented, can be solved simply by modifying intake of processed foods, since that consists of 62% of a diet. And so you just have to eat healthier. Meat eating can actually be healthy and very nutritionally beneficial, as long as you eat the right things in correct portions. Lastly, according to studies done by the Universities of Alaska and California, human teeth are designed for an omnivorous diet, so our teeth are not all flat. Rather, we have flat teeth in the back and sharp teeth up front, accommodating for an omnivorous diet, since you need to slice up your meat and divide it into smaller portions so that you can chew it with your back teeth. Overall, meat eating is quite misrepresented, even as an environmental threat. In a study and later a book written by ecologist Simon Fairley, he states that meat eating, especially as reported by the UN, they say that it produces 18% of the world's carbon emissions, but that's a sort of a misconception. This takes account only feeding animals foods that humans eat, which is a common practice in the United States due to factory farms. But if you feed livestock, such as cattle, their intended diets, like grass and other plant-based foods, which people don't really eat, like grass and stuff, the real ratio is 1.4 to 1, which is much more sustainable. In fact, there are benefits to small farming, including fertilizing soil, eliminating pests and predators. Meanwhile, animals that can be fed off of food waste, such as pigs, are incredibly easy on the environment. The same thing goes for cows that are fed grass. So I think it is our human responsibility to switch towards eating meat and switching towards organic farming so that we better the environment rather than spend more energy converting plants and other processed foods into 62% of our diet, as my opponent has claimed. Eating meat has both health benefits, environmental benefits, and practicing organic farming has a benefit on the animal population. Thank you.